I want you to change the world, and don't think that this is going to happen peacefully or you can do it alone. We need to kill the rich, okay? We need to get out there, use your weapons, and rip Washington apart.
Good morning, everyone. It's November 18th, 2018. The political rebellion gathers momentum. This comes from Charles Hugh Smith, man on Blacklisted News. When was the last time a monopoly or quasi-monopoly was broken up? A generation ago, or was it two? The ruling class that wants us to love our servitude incites us to seek divisions between red and blue, left and right, progressive and conservative, black and white, and so on and so forth. The ruling class in the mainstream media in Washington, D.C., and in Silicon Valley are experts at manipulating language and terminology to divide and conquer. But beneath the superficial red-blue divide, they are hawking a broad-based political rebellion against the oligarchy, and their ruling class is gathering momentum. People left, right, and center are awakening to two painfully obvious realities. The first, the political, social, economic system no longer works for the bottom 95%. More like it has never worked for the bottom 95%. Ever. If any of you can give me an example of when our political, social, economic systems did shit for the bottom 95%, please do, let me know in the comment section. But I can't think of a single time. Number two, the system is intrinsically unfair, rigged to benefit the few at the expense of the many, and that should be painfully obvious to nearly everyone by now. The bottom 95% lack the influence of the oligarchy, and so their only means of expressing disapproval is at the ballot box by rejecting the approved mainstream candidates in favor of candidates who might move the needle in a rigged system. But they won't. They won't move the needle. The so-called alternative candidates, they will get to their posts, and shortly after, they will be bombarded by the likes of the Israeli lobby, by all these different lobbies, the Israeli being the most powerful, and they will be bought and paid for just like the ones they are supposed to be replacing. What are the core economic issues that people are trying to solve at the ballot box? Firstly, the systemic lack of fairness. The growing sense that opportunities are not being distributed as widely or fairly as they once were. Ruling elites now have advantages the rest of us don't. Yeah, such as AI algorithms that tell them when to buy a particular stock or company or whatever it is that they're looking to buy, and among other things. This advantage is very basic. Capital has occurred most of the gains in the past decade's growth and asset appreciation. Labor shares of the GDP continues to slide. Much of the wealth is controlled by corporate state cartels operating rentier skims, prices rise while quality and quantity of goods and services remains the same or decline. And we see this going on everywhere. This is more akin to extortion than a free market competitive market. The pathway to middle-class security that was viewed as a birthright no longer works. Go to college, get a secure job, buy a house, and so on. A university diploma now saddles students with the equivalent of a mortgage in many cases, while housing in strong job markets has soared out of reach of all but the top 5%. Number 2. In response, people seek a political solution to systemic unfairness. In general, there are 2 solutions being offered. And these 2 political solutions will not work because they are political solutions. Right, Bruno? You little bastard. A. Establish political limits on globalization, which is viewed as rewarding the few at the expense of the many. Opponents of deglobalization label this nationalism to tar it with unsavory connotations, but this misses the point. Globalization can indeed be exploitive and benefit the few at the top. The notion that a rising tide raises all boats overlooks the asymmetric distribution of globalization's gains. B. Establish QE for the people policies, which, broadly speaking, are political policies designed to more fairly redistribute the nation's wealth and income that's increasingly concentrated in the hands of the top few. And people like Dennis Prager, among others, would like you to believe that this is not the case, that more and more people are making it to the middle class, but reality shows otherwise. QE for the people policies include higher infrastructure spending, as that creates jobs and benefits all of society, tax credits for the working poor, universal basic income, and ideas such as publicly owned banks. To pay for QE for the people policies, proponents seek higher taxes on the wealthy and higher public spending, even if it is funded by debt or selling bonds. Political solutions to embedded unfairness or inequality or rigged systems or diminished opportunities, i.e. asymmetric gains and unfair advantages, may be politically sound but economically unsound. That is, these policies might have unintended consequences. For example, borrowing large sums of money to pay for universal basic income and other costly programs might create inflation. Not might, it will. Whenever money gets handed out, prices go up. They again pose the question, when was the last time a monopoly or quasi-monopoly was broken up? A generation or two ago. The oligarchy now has such a tight grip on the centers of power. The traditional limits on, concentrated wealth and power have been fatally enfeebled. In response, the bottom 95% are rebelling. Loving your servitude sounds wonderful if you're in the top 5%, reaping the gains of aiding and abetting the oligarchy's tightening stranglehold on power, but the bottom 95 are sick and tired of a rigged, dysfunctional system that's destroying the social contract to further enrich the few and their technocrat enablers. In other words, policies that limit the exploitation or predation of the oligarchy and their enforcers do more than redistribute income. They rebalance the titled playing field and widen competition and opportunity rather than merely distribute free money. But this rebellion from the 95% is not going to stop that 5% from doing more and more evil shit to us. When you have that kind of money, you can buy anything, and I mean anything. I suppose that's the whole reason or motivation for getting rich, right? Is to be able to do anything you want. Oh, you killed someone? No problem. You just kick $100,000 to this judge or this prosecutor, and these charges will go away. Something like that, right? I know I'm a very cynical person, but these control freak, oligarchy, ruling class, whatever you want to call them, they've been in charge for way too long, and you see the result every day of their being in charge, right? You see the collapsing infrastructure. You see the brutality of law enforcement. You see the endless wars in behalf or on behalf of this same oligarchy, where poor people enlist in the army and go to, or other military branch, go to some far-off land and kill people that's never done anything to them, and for no goddamn reason other than the ruling class wanting something from that place, such as a natural resource. They're spending trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars on military shit. They're giving Israel billions of dollars. And no, I'm an anti-Semitic for not liking that. While our people stateside here are suffering, the middle class is shrinking, and the homeless population is growing. You are not a priority to the ruling class, to the politicians. The only priority you have in their world is, are you obeying their whims? That is their priority. And if you're not, they will send one of their henchmen, one of their assassins, one of their enforcers to kill you, or cage you, or both, maybe even rape you. Such is the nature of our reality now. And the only solution is none of these. there's no political solution. There's only one solution. And I think my man Bill, in the beginning of this video, sums it up pretty well. Hope everybody has a good day. Kill the state, live free.